Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We are broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that's the reason that we are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. And every day, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast 3D is brought to you by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you will save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeCDC.com, InternationalCDC.com. And those of you who use the QR code or the link provided on Facebook and YouTube to support the broadcast, we thank all of you for your commitment and your support as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where we will address every issue of life that you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. So, I want to remind everyone, we're Facebook Live, we are YouTube Live, we are RadioFreeNetwork.com Live. If you go to RadioFreeNetwork.com, click on radio, the drop box will appear. Click on the New Life link. Every broadcast will be available to you. And we are YouTube Live at Daily Divine Direction. And of course, now we want to thank everyone for staying tuned in for our internet radio station, WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio, where we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at WKAPfaith.com. The music will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. So, I've got to get back to this because we have seen so many communications coming in from both women and men about dating and relationships. And one of the things I always tell people, there's ebbs and flows throughout the year. And, I know there's been other communications about health and wellness. There's been communications about business, entrepreneurship. There's been communications about finance. We get the issues of life. But all of you, there are certain seasons that people go through the issues of life of dating and relationships. Generally the fourth quarter of the year, because we come up on the holidays, we start coming up on the time of year when people are doing things together as family. And it reminds single people of the fact that, you're not spending time with significant others as much as you are with family. So, we got all these communications coming in. I'm just going to keep addressing them as they come in. If there's something else that needs to be addressed, we'll address those also. But right now, this whole issue of dating and relationships has your attention, which means it now has our attention. So we're going to respond to those because we don't want to get so far behind on them that we're not able to address what you want to hear. And so one of our listeners and viewers sent in a communication saying that dating is not working for you and you want to know why. You say men will take you out. However, they do not return for a second date, and those that do will not come back for a third, and you don't understand why. So let me, first of all, I'm going to say this because it's real important to say this. We have to examine ourselves at all times. We have to examine ourselves, find out what part you're playing in that. Now, you indicated in your communication that you have been intimate from time to time, but it's been on your own terms. So that's fine. That's how you're doing it. That's fine. You said it's been on your own terms, but you're more focused on the fact that you date someone and then there's no second date. And then there's a couple of men who have come back for a second date, but then they don't come back for a third. You have to say to yourself, first of all, what part am I playing in that? What is it that I'm doing? Because you're the common denominator. You have to say, what is it that I'm doing that is pushing men away? Now, it's not because, you're not letting everybody be a one-hit wonder. It's not like you're just having sex and then they're going on their way. That's not what's happening here. So let's examine what's really happening. And what's really happening is you're attracted to the same type of man, but those are not men who are looking for relationships. They're looking for a date. And they're trying to decide who they want to date more than once. They date you, but then because you've been jaded, you've been, what we men will often use is the term snake bit. You decide, I'm going to not only interview the person I'm going on the date with, but I'm going to make him prove to me that he's going to date me again. And what I mean by that is, you will always want them to take you to the finest of restaurants. Now, I don't really have a problem with that once you get through the correct phase of dating. So everyone has heard me say this. I'm going to say it again because we're obviously not all getting it, but I've been getting some communications from people who are trying it this way. But here's the reality. So you have to date on a mission with a purpose. It can't be for sport, can't be for entertainment, can't be for sport, can't be for a free meal. It has to be, I'm going to date someone who asked me out on a mission. And the way that I'm going to do this is that anyone who asks me out, see, this is where you've been missing the mark. Anyone who asks you out, don't just go out with them because someone asks you out and you're attracted to them, because you're attracted to the same type of guy. You're attracted to the guy who wants somebody to hang out with. But then you give them, and I'm just going to keep it real, you give them attitude because you're trying to make them, you don't know it that you're giving them attitude. They don't know that you're giving them attitude, but they see when they ask you out, you tell them where you'd like to go. Then they take you out with an expectation. If I take her to a fine dining establishment, I expect to have sex. That's their mentality. They're men. If they're spending money, they expect to have sex. You're not asking them to go to a casual dining restaurant. You're asking them to take you to a fine dining restaurant. But here's the problem. The problem is you haven't had them take you to church to find out if they're truly a man of God. Is this someone, see, a man of God would take you out more than once. Because what he would do is take you to church and then out to lunch. Take you to church and then out to lunch. Take you to church and then out to lunch. He'll spend on lunch 3 times what he would have spent on one meal, on the one date that you're having them take you on. So, and I'm using that because I'm saying it's not costing him a lot of money to take you out to lunch, but he's getting to know you. He doesn't have any expectation other than, I'm going to take you to church. I'm going to let you hear what I'm being taught and what I'm being fed. And then we're going to go and grab a bite to eat. We're going to go out to lunch. Now, some places lunch can be expensive, but that's not every place. Most of the time you're going to get brunch. You're going to have, it's going to be reasonable. You're not going to, let me break this down, because I know there's a lot of men watching also, because I've been getting a lot of communications from you men out there. My brothers, no matter who you are, what race you are, what culture you are, I've been getting a lot of communications from men also. Here's the thing. If a man takes you out to lunch and it costs him $50 to take you out to lunch, he can take you out to lunch 3 times and that'll cost him less than it would cost him to take you out to a fine dining establishment on any given night. So what's happening is he's making an investment of his time and $50 for lunch. But he's getting to know you, and you're getting to know him. The problem is you're trying to make men pay for the privilege of taking you out so that you can determine whether or not they're going to come back for a second date. That's part of the attitude you're giving them. The attitude is you've been getting one date wonders for so long, you are requiring everybody to be a one date wonder. And the guys who come back the second time, it's only because they're trying to make sure that they didn't miss anything the first time. And what I mean by that is, some guys will say, well, I took you out once and spent $200 on you. If I take you out a second time, maybe she'll have sex with me. It's $400. That's what he spent to have sex. And then he's on his way. But there's no substance there. No substance at all. The relationship is the right attitude, the right state of mind, the right behavior, and the right state of mind. So think about this. If a guy takes you to church, he's got one thing on his mind. I need you to understand I'm a man of God. If you're not willing to do that, then we don't need to go any further. I need you to understand what I'm being taught. I need you to understand what I'm being fed. I need you to understand that this is the way I choose to live. You're not going to get that on the first time, but we can start the process. So I need to take you to church and out to lunch. I need to take you to church and out to lunch. I need to take you to church and out to lunch 3 times. By then, I'll know everything I need to know about whether or not we're compatible to try and walk together in a relationship. See, this is where we've been missing the mark, and the point is we've been doing things the wrong way for so long we think it's the right way to do them. The reality is, as men, we got to try to do better, and as women, your expectation has to be better. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about expectation of, I'm going to get him to do all these, and I don't want to go into the next communication, but I'm going to get him to do certain things to prove to me that he's worthy of me. Because at the end of the day, he's going to fail that test. He's never going to be enough for you, because if you start out wanting much, you're only going to want more. You're never going to be satisfied. All that really matters is the substance of a man. What is he doing to be the best version of himself? And this is what I mean when I say, for all you ladies out there, you got to start looking for godly men. Now, I did get a communication from someone else who was talking about the fact that, there's not a lot of men in church. But the reality is men are starting to return to church because we understand the importance of getting this thing right. We can't keep doing what we've always done and expect different results. So if you really want to know why, first of all, you're going to have to examine yourself. You're going to have to check your attitude. You're going to have to have a different expectation of a man. Not somebody who is balling out, not someone who is, popping bottles. What you want is someone who has the character of God. And what that means is understands that he's made in the image and the likeness of God. I'm made in the image of God because God has created me to be a man. And I'm made in his likeness because I'm trying to be more like him. The only way you're going to know that is if you go to church and out to lunch with them 3 times before you decide to go on any other type of dates. Now, having said that, let's make sure we get this right. I'm not eliminating every man from the equation because he doesn't have a church home. Because we've got to do better. So if he doesn't have a church home, you've got to have a church home that you can invite him to. Because if he can't invite you to his home, you have to be able to invite him to your home. Not to your house, but to your home, your church home. So that he can be fed, he can see what you're being fed, and then he can determine whether or not you two are compatible. Because if he's not interested in furthering that relationship, how's he going to have a healthy relationship with you? See, this is the problem in our society today. We're getting away from the foundations of everything that God has laid in a foundation, in Christ. We've got to get back to the basics of doing things decently and in order. So you invite him to your church, tell him you want to go out to lunch. I'm telling you, a man will respect you so much more if you say to him, I want you to come to church with me and take me out to lunch. I don't want you to take me out to dinner yet. I don't want you to take me out to the movies and out to dinner. I want you to go to church with me and out to lunch. And if he doesn't want to do that, if he then says, I'm not interested in church, he's told you that's not what he's interested in. He's not interested in you because he's not interested in being a godly man. He's just interested in hooking up. That's it. Now, that doesn't imply that all of us that love the Lord and have a relationship with God are perfect. We're just being perfected every day. We're trying to work this thing out. But we got to start someplace. And then we build on the foundation that's been laid. We can build on that foundation. You've got to examine yourself, and then you've got to decide that you're willing to do this according to the revelation of God and stop trying to figure it out for yourself. Society has us all messed up. Every one of us. What we're doing is renewing our mind. And that's what's changing, particularly for a lot of us as men, is that, and that doesn't mean we're perfect, that just means that we're being perfected. But we understand we've got to do things differently than we've always done them. Because if we keep doing the same thing we've always done, we're going to get the same result. If we're not getting a different result and a better result, then that truly is insanity. We will lose our minds trying to do the same thing over and over again and expect something different to happen. Let's get this thing right. You gotta renew your mind, check your attitude. You gotta really make a decision that I'm going to do things differently. And I will tell you it does work, because for one of our listeners and viewers who I'm sure is tuned in today, because she sent me an email and told me she's been tuned in for 4 years. We've been on the air for 5. She's been tuned in for 4 years. She indicated that after the pandemic, she started dating just that way. She's still dating the same guy today. They're in a relationship because he was willing to go to church with her. Now, she did share with me, and I'll tell you, all things work together for the good, for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. She said they started out because the pandemic was still going on at the end. They started out, church wasn't reopened, so they started viewing it online. They're not in our area. So, because we've been open, but they started viewing it online, started viewing church online and together, and then, grabbing something to eat, and now they're still dating because they're in a relationship. And that's what we all should be working towards. If you have a relationship with the Lord, you'll be able to have a healthy relationship with another human being. The problem is we don't have good relationships with the Lord, and so therefore we don't have good relationships. We just have relationships, or relations, as our generation before us might have called it. Let's do things a better way. Let's do things God's way. We're all going to sin and fall short of the glory of God. But if we make a decision to sin less, we'll sin less every day. And if we sin less every day, a lot of the self-inflicted nonsense, self-inflicted nonsense, we won't have to experience or endure. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you have been in a relationship with someone who continues to tell you he is not interested in getting married. However, you are ready to get married and do not want to waste any more time. So you're not in the right relationship. And I don't mean this to be cruel. I don't mean this to, be the destroyer of relationships. But you're not really in a relationship. You're dating someone. See, if he were really interested in getting married, then you could say you're in a relationship. The problem is you're dating someone who doesn't want to get married. So you call it a relationship, but you're dating the wrong person. You two are not going to get married. If he's saying he's not interested in getting married, it may not be that he's interested in getting married to you. He's just not ready to stop dating you. And you haven't been ready to stop dating him. But now, because you're ready to get married and you don't want to waste any more time, you realize that, well, I can't get him to do what I want him to do, but he's been telling you what he wants to do. He wants to just date. And if it's not you, it'll be someone else. But you got to be okay with that. You got to be okay with the fact that the two of you have to move on, and you won't waste any more of your time. You won't waste any more of his time. He won't waste any more time, and he won't waste any more of your time. Move on. If marriage isn't the goal, move on. Now, I realize that there are people who date and even get in a relationship with the intent that at some point in time it will lead to marriage. Timing is everything. Sometimes the dynamics of life. So I will share with you. I wasn't going to do this one today, but I'll share with you. I received a communication from someone who said, you started dating someone who is going through a divorce, and you don't want to leave him out there by himself while he's going through the divorce. He definitely has told you what his plans are. And that is, when his divorce is finalized, He wants to get the financial aspect of it settled. He wants to make certain that his children are stable. And then he wants to talk about the possibility of getting married again. You've been dating him. They've been separated for a period of time, but they're now actually in the process of a divorce. Okay. Life happens to us all. But he's got a plan. You got to recognize that the gentleman that you're talking about has no plan to be married to you. Now, that's not to say that he won't eventually be interested in getting married, but he's not interested in getting married right now. You're the one that's present right now. So that means that he has no interest in getting married to you. For whatever his reasons are. You all have spent a lot of time together dating, and you've been doing this for a period of time, and it is what it is. It's time to move on. Because what God has for you, he has for you. You don't need to spend any more time. The problem is sometimes we get in relationships, and I'm not talking about marriages. I'm talking because marriages are a different dynamic. But sometimes we start dating people, and we date them for such a long period of time that we don't want to waste that time. We don't want to have to start over again. Well, at some point, you might have to start over again. The good news is that even if you have to start over again, you know that God is still in control. God is still in charge. It's just starting over. None of us like it, but sometimes it's necessary. You got to know that this has run its course and God has something greater planned for you. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have they also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything that a man could possibly need: shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. I'm in Charles Tyrwhitt Attire today. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And this segment is also brought to you by The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I am going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated, because this isn't going to take me long, you want a man who's going to spoil you with gifts, trips, and a lifestyle that you have never known. Newsflash. There is a difference between being spoiled and men lavishing you with gifts, trips, and a lifestyle you've never known. Spoiling a woman is doing the things that a woman should not have to do. You know, like filling her car with gasoline, making certain that her tank's always full, making sure that her car goes to the car wash, that it's getting washed and cleaned, making certain that the things that need to be done that a man is supposed to do, we all do. Spoiling means that you don't require her to do the things that she doesn't have to do. You know, things that men do, like taking her car and getting it serviced. You know, trade your car with her and get her car serviced for her. Those are things that spoil a woman. You want someone who's going to ball out. You want someone who's going to spoil you with gifts and trips and a lifestyle you've never known. You don't know those kind of men. And you don't position yourself to know those kind of men. You only position yourself to know the men who are hanging out at the clubs, who are hanging out at rooftop events, who are hanging out. I mean, I know this is the new thing, but the game doesn't change, only the players change. You know, I made a comment long ago and said, people will talk about popping bottles now. We were popping bottles before there was a term popping bottles. The game doesn't change. Only the players do. So you got to know that what you're looking for is only a man who is having a good time or he thinks he's having a good time in life, who's willing to spend his money because he has the money to spend, so that he has someone that he can sleep with, and have sex with. You won't be the only one. You got to be okay with that if that's what you want. But this is not the quality of life that God has determined for you. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at Fiji.